Okay. Calling to order the zoning board of adjustment, Raritan Township, regular meeting, April 3rd, 2025. Notice of meeting, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied by the placing of a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building, filing same with the township clerk and transmitting same to the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Courier News, Star Ledger, and Trenton Times. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Here.
Mr. Steve Farcio.
Here.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
Here.
Ms. Lindsay Cool-Brangel, she's asked to be excused. Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Here.
Ms. Donna Drews. Here. Mr. James Miller.
Here.
Board Professionals, Board Attorney, Mr. John Drill.
Here.
Township Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Baccarella.
Here.
On behalf of Township Engineer, Mr. Rakesh Darshi, we have Mr. Ryan McCarthy.
Here.
Traffic Consultant, Mr. Jay Troutman. Board Planner, Ms. Jessica Caldwell. And we have our Conflict Landscape Architect, Mr. Timothy, and I'm gonna let him say his last name.
Kaluhio Kalani here.
How do you
All right.
spell your last name?
K-A-L.
K-A-L.
U-H-I-O.
U-H-I-O.
K-A-L.
K-A-L.
A-N-I.
A-N-I. Can you pronounce it one more time?
Kaluhio Kalani.
We're going to call you Tim.
And Board Secretary Taylor
I
Vaughn.
lost
Here.
my video.
All right. I don't know.
Can I get a motion to excuse?
Taylor. Taylor, I lost
Jim,
my
I-
video.
Hold on.
Jim, I see you.
I lost
so-
my video.
Right. He can't see you, and he's very upset about it.
I
You
can't.
can't see me anyway. Jim, we're fine. You're fine.
Well,
You can still hear us.
Okay. This has a screen that says Zoom.
Can I get a motion to excuse Lindsay?
Who was that? Randy?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Steve Farcio. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
Yes,
Ms. Lorette Cretina.
Yes. Right. Are we going to close
Ms. Donna
session after?
Drews. Yes.
At the end? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, comments. Do we want to do the Board of the BOA annual report?
This is just me because I'm going to be drafting it within the next month or two. So I just want to let you guys know and think about any recommendations you wanted me to put in the report.
Okay.
Because I know last year we had the comment about accessory apartments. And I mean, you guys went in and changed chapter 296. So just so you guys can start thinking about it so that I can put it in.
Okay, thank you. No announcements, no distribution or correspondence. Minutes. We have 3 closed sessions. Obviously, we don't have minutes for it.
Yeah, we do.
We do?
Thought we did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, missed it. Okay,
Okay.
can we postpone it till next time?
yeah,
Yes.
just table it.
Mhm.
Okay,
All
so-
3?
yeah, please.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, moving to the resolutions this evening, we're going to skip the first one, I understand. Executive Snow.
Yeah, the applicant has asked Executive Snow to come off. They haven't finished their review, so we're going to put it on for adoption on April 17.
Okay. All right, moving to the second resolution, Raritan Township Board Adjustment, Matthew Appeal, 24 Mott Way, Block 79.10, Lot 12. Application BOA-25-2024, resolution memorializing grant of a C2 variance to allow the construction of a detached 2-car garage within the side yard setback area. Resolution number 2025-04, version 2025-03-28 version 2. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Ferrero.
yes,
Ms. Lorette Cartina.
Yes.
Ms. Donna Drews.
No,
Uh-huh.
Miller,
Miller.
James Miller.
Oh. Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to the next one. Raritan Township Board of Adjustment Shanty LLC, 305 Route 12, Block 41.01, Lot 3, application BOA-17-2021, resolution memorializing a second modification of condition number 13 of resolution number 2022-11 to grant an extension of the time period to obtain construction permit to November 4th, 2025. Resolution number 2024-17, version 2025-03-30- version 2. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve? Can I get a roll call, please?
Who was that the second?
Randy?
Chairwoman Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
yes,
Ms. Donna Drews. Yes. Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving to the next one, Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Penn Partners LLC, Block 71, Lots 8 and 8.01, 180 SH 31 and US Highway 202, application number BOA-15-2022. Resolution memorializing a modification of condition number 1 of resolution number 2023-09 to allow an extension of the time period to obtain signatures on the site plans to June 7, 2025. Resolution number 2024-18, version 2025-03-30, version 2. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
I'm gonna give that to James. Sorry, Donna. Chairwoman Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
yes,
Ms. Donna Drews. Yes. Mr. James Miller.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next resolution, Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Nicholas Caracapia, Block 37, Lot 2, 14 River Road, application number BOA-06-2022. Resolution memorializing modification of condition number 8 of the resolution number 2023-15 for extension of time to obtain permanent certification of occupancy to December 27, 2025. Resolution number 2024-20, version 2025-03-30- version 2. Any updates or changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve? Can I roll call,
so move
please?
it,
Sorry, Jim, you missed it. Chairwoman Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
yes,
Ms. Lorette Cartina.
Yes.
Ms. Donna Drews.
Okay, moving to the next resolution, Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, Apex Treatment Center, 6 Minnetonka Road, Block 16.01, Lot 69.03, application BOA-08-2022, resolution memorializing modification of condition number 4 of the resolution number 2022-05 for extension of time to commence construction and obtain a permit certificate of occupancy to January 2nd, 2026, resolution number 2024-21, version 2025-03-31- version 3. Any changes, updates, or corrections? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve? Roll call, please.
Chairwoman Ms. Cynthia Schaefer.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Mr. Russell Domji.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Jim Ferrero.
yes,
Ms. Lorette Cartina.
Yes.
Ms. Donna Drews.
Okay. Am I reading this whole resolution, John?
Yes, I think we actually should, just even though it's going to be published, just so everyone can hear it.
Okay. Raritan Township Board of Adjustment, resolution governing certain application and hearing procedures. Whereas NJSA 40:50-55D-10B provides that a board shall make rules governing hearings on applications, and Raritan Township Board of Adjustments, the board adopted rules and regulations governing hearings on application during its annual reorganization meeting on January 6, 2025. Whereas Board Rule 50
5:4-1,
provides that the board may, from time to time, amend any part or parts of the rules and regulations at any regular meeting, provided notice of the consideration of any such amendment has been given in writing and/or electronically to each member of the board at least 3 days prior to such meeting.
and let me just editorial comment, notice was given electronically to all board members 3 days prior to this evening. And I'm going to take this over for you. I'm going to speed read it. Whereas the board now wishes to amend the rules and regulations to add the following, and the board will incorporate the following into its rules and regulations at the appropriate time, but wants to make these changes at this time so as to make the following rules effective immediately. Now therefore, the board, by motion duly made and seconded on April 3, 2025, hereby amends its rules and regulations to add the following rules governing certain applications and hearing procedures. Now I'm going to read them slowly. Number 1, any exhibits which an applicant intends to introduce during a hearing must be provided to the board secretary electronically at least 4 days prior to the hearing at which the exhibits will be introduced. The applicant shall bring paper copies of the exhibits to the hearing. Number 2, for all non-residential and all residential applications other than applications for single-family or two-family dwellings, the applicant must provide a court reporter at the hearing and must provide the board secretary with a transcript of the hearing. Number 3, for residential applications involving single-family or two-family dwellings, the board will provide for a court reporter at the hearing and may arrange for a transcript if the board so wishes. Number 4, transcripts of hearings may be incorporated by reference and attached to the meeting minutes to be used as the minutes of those portions of meetings devoted to hearings. And number 5, applicants may request no more than one pre-application meeting with board professionals. The request must be in writing and must be accompanied by a written agenda and/or list of questions to be discussed. No pre-application meeting shall be held unless the applicant first deposits money into an escrow account to cover all professionals' fees anticipated for attendance at the meeting. So that's the proposed resolution, and if it's adopted, I'm going to suggest that the board secretary email it out to every applicant's attorney that appears before the board. But
Okay,
we'll eventually incorporate this into the board's, large set of rules.
okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I don't move
Wait,
it.
wait, time out. I'm sorry, Lorette, go ahead. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Sorry, Jim, you missed it again. Chairwoman, Ms. Cynthia Schaefer,
Yes,
Vice Chair, Mr. Rasul Damji,
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block,
Yes.
Mr. Jim Ferrero. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Steve Farcio, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Ferrero,
Yes.
Ms. Lorette Cretita,
yes.
Ms. Donna Drews. Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, moving on to the first application for this evening, BOA case number 12-2020. Applicant is the Fud Shop Land Group LLC, location block 36, lot 65, 10 Millbrook Place. Application for a minor site plan with D variance for manufacturing use and residential use in a B3 zone. You want me to read the letter?
Yeah, John, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to read the letter I sent Mr.
Yeah,
Bullock.
why don't you read it?
Thing. Okay. All right, this is a letterhead that I sent to Mr. Scott Bullock, the attorney for the Fud Shop, dated March 28th, 2025. Dear Mr. Bullock, please be advised that this letter of correspondence is to confirm the following information on the above mentioned application. At the February 6th, 2025 meeting, it was announced that the application would be penciled to the April 17th, 2025 Depending on the applicant's professionals, will be submitting additional materials application to the board for review 21 days prior to the meeting date, which was March 27th, 2025. Our office has not received any materials to date. As previously stated, both the chair and vice chair, the board will not waive the board's 21-day submission rule. We prefer sufficient time for the board professionals, members, and township agencies to review such materials. We will have this application listed on the April 3rd meeting to announce the application being scheduled to a future pending date, in parentheses, depending on if you provide a response. We ask the applicant grants a time extension for the board to act on this application to the end of September 2025. Please remember that a new notice is required for the future hearing. And then I provided future dates for him. And,
Read the last email he sent back at the end of the day today.
okay, well, actually, he did send a letter dated
Oh.
March 31st, 2025, just stating, Ms. Vaughn, the applicant Bud Shop requests that their variance application be placed on the calendar for the June 19th, 2025 meeting date. But yet he didn't respond to my time extension request, to which he sent an email to me and everybody else today, April 3rd, 2025, saying applicant, the Fud Shop consents to and grants an extension until August 1st, 2025, not September like I asked.
So what do you want to do?
You said June 19th, we're available, they're available.
That's what he's available to.
And-
Again, if they meet the 21 days.
Yeah, they need the 21 days. Can they meet the 21 days?
I don't know.
Well, are we going to acknowledge
Wait,
this gentleman here?
are we going?
Well, put
Really?
it this way, if he doesn't meet it,
Oh, well.
then, oh, well, they're off, and then you'll have to deal with it, and then I would make them renotice at that point and not, or we,
They have to notice anyway.
they have to, they have to notice. Huh?
One plan, two projects. Decided. It was gonna be two applications, but one plan. Because the Fud Shop was included.
Two applications. Two applications.
Put it this way, I think it's,
I thought they were just going to include the
I
Fud
think
Shop.
it's too early in the process to say, this is getting messed up, dismiss it without prejudice, start from scratch. Too early in the process for that.
Okay,
So, listen. You asked for an extension to September. You didn't
Gave it
really,
till August.
gave you one till August. Maybe we let it slide this time, but next time if it happens, we're like, you gotta send the message back to the applicant attorney that they're not too pleased. They try to bend over backwards with the schedule. They're trying to cut down the number of things scheduled, so when they hear it, they can finish it, and they're not feeling it.
Well, my question would be, do you think it was intentional? Or do you think he meant September 1st? I don't know. Maybe he just got the date wrong. I don't know. That doesn't sound, I mean, I don't know. As an attorney, I think that's kind of ridiculous if you're talking about 30 days. Like, I'm hoping he just got the date wrong.
Right.
Can we check that? To
The
see if he-
reason-
If you would like
the
for me
reason
to, I
that-
will.
He was asked for that amount of time was because another application has to be
Understood.
filed.
But I don't know. Did he think he was just gonna just tell us
Well,
that?
listen, you're not getting the whole story. The first email back was like, we consent to an extension, didn't have a date on it. So then I got involved. I said, wait a minute. You gotta send an email with you're gonna grant an extension and put the date in writing. And then he put the August date in writing. And I had too many things to do today to get in a little argument.
I'm just hoping it was the wrong date.
If you want me to, I will ask him again.
Yeah, you know what? Ask him again. Tell him the board wanted this September and he gave till August. And so,
okay, time it. No, he can relay the message, but whatever
Right.
communication we have, can we do this in writing? Because.
right.
It isn't right.
Okay, so,
So you send him, Taylor's going to send him an email saying, no, August 1 is not acceptable. We want September.
I'll send a letter.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just say the
Remind them about the
proposal
21
was,
days.
give us until September 1st. That's what we asked for.
Right.
Are you saying that you're only giving us to August 1st? That's what I want to
Actually,
know.
I meant the end of September.
Yeah, she
Okay,
meant
well-
September 30th.
Then September 30th. I would like to know if he got confused. I'm hoping he got confused.
okay. just to clarify, Taylor asked me a question. We're going to go into closed session after.
Yeah, why don't we go into closed session after?
After.
Okay,
Okay,
I was just asking.
no problem.
So this isn't officially being carried because they have to renotice anyway.
Correct. This is not being carried.
Okay.
We're assigning a hearing date, but it was supposed to be assigned based on an extension to a certain time, which wasn't granted, and she'll ask again, but let's give them that hearing date no matter what.
Okay. All right, moving on to the second application for this evening, BOA case number 2023. Applicant Flemington Family Partnership LLC, block 72.23, lots 31 and 31.01, 324 and 328 Highway 202, preliminary and final site plan with D variance and bulk variances for a proposed car dealership.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Kara Kaczynski of McNally, Yaros, Kaczynski, and Lime here tonight representing the applicant Flemington Family Partners Partnership LLC. We are back here tonight with regard to the properties located at 324 and 328 Highway 202, Block 72, Lot 23, lots 31.01 and 31. As a quick recap for the board.
Before we do the recap, I just want to make sure I do something before I forget. We swore in Rakesh last time, but we have Ryan tonight, so I want to, Ryan, give me your last name again. That one I can spell. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're going to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And Tim, we got you last time.
Thank you.
Okay.
So as a quick recap, we're looking to relocate our existing Nissan and Toyota dealerships from their current locations on Route 31-202 to the subject properties. We require conditional use variance approval. We need 2 D1 use variances and along with some bulk variances and design waivers. You'll hear further testimony with regard to all of those once we have our planner testify for you. But all of those pieces of relief were discussed last time and are outlined in your professionals report. We were here last on February 6th, and at that meeting, you heard testimony from our applicant's representative, Tony Giannotti, and our engineer, Kelly Osuch. And tonight, you will hear limited follow-up testimony from both of them to address some of the questions and concerns that we left with that night, and also to address some additional comments that were within the board professionals' letters that we had received by that point.
But before you do that, let's talk about signage, because if you're gonna, okay, let's go
Then
ahead.
you'll hear testimony from Mr. James Necker, our architect, who will also provide answers to some of your questions regarding the existing square footages and cars at the existing locations versus the proposed square footage. And you'll also see some elevations and that he will testify to and signage information. So
Time out. So we got signage today, right? We got something today?
if you just give me 2 more seconds, I'll just explain to you. The signage that we have definitive information on, which includes height, square footage, and design, have been on the engineer's plans since day one, are not changing, and will be testified and confirmed here tonight. What we do not have full confirmation of from the manufacturers, because they are still making changes, is the building signage. What we are proposing to do for the board is to show you what we have by way of design and location and what it looks like on the existing buildings, but we fully understand that we are not prepared tonight to provide you with square footage and specific information for you to
right.
approve building signage
Right.
on the.
Right, so the question is, why spend the time even talking about the signage until you have the details?
That's what I was just gonna say. If you don't want me to go into that tonight, I perfectly will not. I have no problem with that. We can address it at the next meeting if by that point in time we do have the definitive information. If not, we will appear for amended approval.
No.
Okay,
No,
I want to get the board's,
right. They're trying to streamline and make everything efficient.
Yes.
To get an approval and then have to come back for an amended approval is not efficient. I thought your guys were in a rush.
They are, but we can't present information that we don't have.
Okay?
Okay, so time out. I want to ask the board members. One side of me says, it's good to hear. The other side of me says, I'm done. We need process, we need efficiency. We can't keep repeating things. So I want to hear from the board what we want to do
Yeah, about signage,
about signage.
about signage.
Do we wait and wait till they have the final, the final decision on what they want to represent? Or do we hear something tonight and then hear it again? And I'm just going to go down the line. James, your thoughts?
My guess is there's enough material to keep us here till 10 o'clock.
Oh, no. We're not talking about the rest of the case. Let's talk about signage.
Just signage?
Just signage. You want to hear signage and have to hear it again? Or to help tell them, hold the signage till you know what you're doing with it. And they still have an engineer that's going to testify, and they have the owner's, the applicant's rep that's going to testify.
Well, we got so much to get through. Why don't we just wait until we have all the information then?
And that's perfectly
Donna,
fine. That's why.
That's one person. That's one
Donna.
person.
Wait until we have the content.
Lorette,
Wait.
Randy,
I would wait. I would wait.
Jim,
I would wait.
Russell?
Wait.
Okay.
Okay, now, the weight, right? So you heard that the board's tightening things up.
Absolutely, heard it all.
So when that signage stuff gets submitted, it can't, first of all, you want the board to approve it. So if you submit it as exhibits and it's not on the plans, that can't be approved, period. If you want them to approve it as shown on a document that you would otherwise call an exhibit, you got to file it 21 days ahead to be able to get them to approve it.
Understood.
Okay, the other thing I want to ask is I received a text late today that you would not have people here tonight. Has things changed and you do have people to testify tonight?
Oh, we do. Yes, we have our, as I said, our representative to follow up questions, our engineer and our architect to deal with the other square footage information and his other testimony other than signage. We will push signage until the next meeting.
Hey, Cynthia,
Yeah,
Um,
Russell,
I'm sorry, did I hear something that we don't have complete set of team today?
No, they don't have their traffic expert. Okay, so you're not going to hear traffic testimony. They don't have the architect because the architect was going to, oh, who else? So they don't have signage, they don't have the traffic guy.
Correct. Our planner is here, but he asked me.
Right, but the planner goes last, so they do have their engineer who's going to go over some still remaining issues. They
And he
basically,
never finished his entire testimony.
right, and he didn't finish his testimony anyway, and they have the applicant's rep here to go over a couple things that the board asked last time.
Correct.
So maybe we don't finish at 10 o'clock and we finish earlier. That wouldn't be such a
So-
bad thing.
before we go, we're gonna have to finish earlier because we have to go into closed session.
Right, that's true. Right, you're right. We have to finish by, let's say, 9:30 the latest to go into closed session, 9 the latest to go into closed session.
So there you go.
Okay,
Helping you
But
out.
didn't we have people, maybe I'm wrong. Did we stop people from, didn't people in the audience have questions for Mr. Giannotti or no? Am I wrong? Am I wrong on that? I could be
Well,
wrong.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember seeing you guys last time. There are
They're with
members
us.
of the audience.
No,
They're with
no,
us.
these guys are,
No, all the
They're
way in
with
the
us.
back.
yeah.
Everyone
last-
in this room is with us.
So
Oh.
just want to make clear that my understanding is there's no one here from the public right now.
correct.
Okay,
I mean, there are people here from the public.
well,
Now,
to,
well, put it this way. Is there anyone here in the audience that's not somehow related to the property or the
Right.
application? You guys are all related to the property back there? Like you have the property owner's representative back there, so
Yeah, I
there's
think
no
yeah.
interested parties other than the property owner's
all
representatives.
right, I think that's important to have on the record for
Okay.
all sides, so.
Okay. Okay, we're ready.
Hey, Cynthia,
Well,
Cynthia,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Russell.
I have a process
I'll
issue.
be- I'll be signing.
Considering, so I just need to put it in the records, considering what we went through from getting things efficient, Kara, it will be, so, and things happen, okay? I totally understand that, but I am disappointed that it is kind of messing up the process from an efficiency point of view, whether things are not complete or whatever. So I'm a little disappointed. I understand things happen, but maybe in the future we do a better job at that.
We will do. We will have everything squared away, plenty of time and in full before our next hearing.
Great. All right.
Take it away.
Thank you.
Actually, before you go ahead.
Okay?
The two board members, Ms. Lorette Cortina and Mr. James Miller, they were not here for the February 6th hearing. So they did sign their affidavits stating that they did listen to the taped recording and they are eligible to vote, which will not be happening tonight, but in the future.
Great, thank you.
Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.
A minute, Taylor, I need to reactivate my video. How do I do that?
Okay. Jim, you're gonna hit the red button saying end
Hello?
meeting.
End the meeting and then join the meeting again. So pop out and then pop back in.
Give me a minute to do that, folks.
Yep, and Jim's actually correct, because if he wants to participate, he has to be able to see and hear, not just hear. Just
I
like
have
we
my
have to be
video.
able to see and hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can, just, you gotta end the meeting.
Uh,
Or you gotta find the video button
No,
and
I
click it
I have,
on.
I got him.
Okay,
I have the video back.
back.
The video back, and you can, and I can hear you.
Hold on.
Jim, are you there or not?
Now I kicked him out.
Okay, good.
He's
He
gone.
should know to
He's
come
gone.
back in.
Okay, let me ask. You're saying the signage is on the plans?
The
This-
pylon sign.
The site plan?
Pylon. sign.
Pylon.
I'm just a little earlier in the process.
Right?
We-
I'm not losing my mind.
See if you can find the pylon signage.
I have a lot of something.
Can you ask what sheet site the pylon signage is on?
It has to be because Jessica has it.
It's toward the end,
Put it down, put it down.
second to last page or something like that.
Actually, I want-
29.
Sheet 29. He's almost- he's almost-
She's saying that it's the pylon.
Just lift your finger.
Yeah.
Rain garden.
Oh,
I use sheet
I'm assuming
metal.
that's-
Yes.
Everyone sheet metal, you know,
Okay,
we only have one rule. No return.
Come on, Jim.
Truck is delivered for you if you want.
Jimbo,
He's
Jimbo. Maybe he thinks, maybe he thinks we sent him home.
Imagine.
okay, so
There he is.
Kara,
Hey, Jim, you back? Jim, can you hear us?
he's muted.
You're muted, Jim. Can't hear you.
Oh.
Kara,
Yes.
I believe the architectural plans were emailed in. We don't have a paper copy. And what else was emailed in without a paper copy?
I'm unmuted.
No, Jim, I can hear you now. Can you see us?
Yes, I can hear and I can hear you.
Huh?
Great. Thank
I
you.
understand. I just want to tell you what we
I'm
don't
backing in.
have, so we don't have a problem
I
next
mean,
time.
I have paper copies here of everything I was going to use with the signage and the
No,
elevation.
no, stop. Forget about what you emailed today.
Yep.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
Okay, when were the architectural plans emailed? Okay,
Mhm.
we don't have a paper copy of those architecturals. Okay, so those are 8x10? Guys, do you have a full-size set of the architecturals that were emailed in or not?
I printed them probably December,
Well, did you send them in? We don't have them. We never got them. Okay, what else was emailed in that we don't have a paper copy of?
Besides the exhibits, I believe it's just the floor plan. The floor plan was missing, they were missing a component.
Okay, so listen, forget the exhibits, the floor plan. Isn't that part of the architecturals?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay, so that's what we don't have paper.
that's
never, you've never had architects, because they have not changed.
no full, I remember there were comments, even from the beginning, We never even got floor plans from the beginning or any of the technical reports signed and sealed.
Okay, any other housekeeping? Okay.
Ready?
Hopefully, every time I say it, something else happens, but we're ready to go. Let's see what happens.
I'd like to call the applicant's representative, Mr. Tony Giannotti.
Mr. Giannetti, you were sworn in to testify on February 6th, and you remain under oath.
Have a seat, Tony. All right. At the end of the last meeting, there were some questions that the board had.
Take care of you now.
Some of them will be answered by our architect, some by our engineer, and some are on the revised plans, but there's just a couple that I'd like you to testify to. There was a question as to why we need this size of development and the number of cars, and specifically the question was, have sales decreased overall since
You
2015?
mean, why so many parking spaces for cars? That's what you mean?
Yes. So have they decreased overall since 2015?
I spoke to Mr. Beans the other day, and on a whole, he said that that has not been the case. But that's taking in American, foreign trucks, every type of vehicle that would be produced by a
Okay,
manufacturer.
put it this way. Why are so many parking spaces needed on this site? That's the question.
Okay, can I?
Okay,
The engineer and the architect will also testify as to specifics, but is it correct that the total square footage of the dealerships are actually decreasing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is it correct that the current existing square footage of both dealerships is 82,720 square feet?
That's correct.
And the proposed square footage for the dealerships is 61,897 square feet?
That's correct.
So again, the overall square footage of both dealerships is decreasing on the proposed site from what's existing.
Yes, it is.
And how about the number of parking spaces for cars overall, service, employee, inventory? Is that increasing or decreasing?
It's pretty much a wash.
Okay, do you recall what the numbers are of what's existing and what's proposed?
Not off the top of my head, I don't, I'm sorry.
What is 474 existing to 484 as proposed? Does that sound about right?
That sounds correct. That sounds correct.
Number of cars or the question is service space?
Well, there were a number of questions. So I'm just dealing right now with number of spaces.
ask the question again.
The number of parking spaces existing on your existing Nissan Toyota site is what?
I don't know that off the top of my
So
head.
if I told you it was 474, does that sound about correct?
That's very close, yes.
Okay. And is that increasing to 484? Does that sound about right?
Correct.
That was the question.
Okay, so even though he doesn't know, you're saying, assume that you have 474 spaces because someone must have told you that. Who told you that?
They're on the plans. You'll see it.
On the existing?
Correct.
The existing,
I'm sorry. The existing is not on the plans. The
No.
existing is on this exhibit that the architect prepared that he will testify.
okay. And you're saying that on the plan show 484 spaces.
Correct.
Now, here's my question to the witness. Of the 474 spaces on the existing site, how many are occupied on a daily basis and how many are open?
Exactly, I wouldn't be able to answer that correctly, but at least on all of our dealerships, we probably have a 10 to 15% vacancy on the spaces.
I think what the board's going to want to know is if you're moving a dealership from one site to this site, and they want to know why you need so many parking spots on this site, they're going to want to know, in fact, how many of the 474 spaces on the existing site are unoccupied? Do you really need all those additional spaces on this site?
I have an aerial that that the architect secured that shows the existing site and the parking spaces and what's vacant and what's not. It's from October of last year.
But I'm just, the logic here is the size of the building is going down,
Correct.
but the number of spaces in the new lot is going up. There's an inverse relationship to those two things. You would assume that the number of parking spaces and display spaces needed would go down.
Okay, now I understand your question. So, the reason for the reduction in square footage on the existing site is, what is that reason? Let me scratch that. Does Mr. Beans and the operations use the entirety of the square footage on the current site of both dealerships?
At any given time, there could be, those spaces would be occupied.
Not the
But
spaces, the square footage of the buildings. Are they too large for your operations?
no, they're not.
The existing.
The existing
buildings.
buildings are, but planned buildings will not be.
Correct. So the question is, the existing buildings, are they larger than what you need?
Yes,
Okay. The proposed buildings are the right size for what you need.
the right size for the way the brand is requiring us to design the insides of the building. Yes,
Okay. And this parking spaces are sufficient on what's existing and proposed.
Every type of parking space, whether it be service, new car inventory, used car inventory, dealer prep, delivery areas, yes.
So
Is that
what,
better?
what they asked you last time was, could you come back and see if you could decrease the number of spaces on the existing, on the proposed site? And your answer is no, you don't want to reduce any of the
That-
spaces?
Less than what we had last time, correct? No, it's not.
So the answer is no, you don't want to reduce any.
That's correct.
Okay?
Yes, I would, yeah.
Listen, that's their answer.
Yeah, I believe that, but I hope we'll get some additional clarity about it when we hear the additional
Yep.
testimony about the actual.
Right. Instead of estimates, you show your picture from one day in October. But it's up to you on what type of proofs to put in, like you do a study for, X number of days or a month of how many extra spaces do you have? Because if he said you typically have 10 to 15% vacancy rate. So if you have a typical 10 to 15% vacancy rate, the board's thinking, well, why don't you cut down 10 to 15% of the 484 spaces? But that's going to be up
Do
to
you have an
you.
answer to that?
It's a place in time. In the morning, when everybody's dropping their cars off for service, that ratio may go down to 5% or 3% vacant spaces.
How many people come in each day for service in the morning? How many cars?
I don't know that answer.
I mean, more than 50?
I think that would be 50 would be a good number.
So 50 cars each day for service. So you should give the board a breakdown of how many of these 484 spaces are being used for service, how many for customer parking, how many for employee parking, how many for whatever, how many for inventory parking, so they can see exactly how all the spaces are being used to determine if you really need them.
I think that's on our revised drawing. Yeah, we have that all in our revised drawings.
Okay, so why are you asking him these questions then? I mean, you're asking-
I'm just setting up the foundation. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There was one item outstanding. I'm sorry. There was also a question as to how you will maintain the porous pavement with cars traveling over it. The engineer will testify as to the specifics, but what I would like to get on the record for the board's edification is you have porous pavement at other locations, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and because you have them at other locations, how to maintain them and what they require in order to be maintained well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then my final question is, there was an item in the board planner's latest letter revised through March 31, 2025, on page 25, that stated that no motor vehicle parts or inoperative motor vehicles shall be stored outside. You willing to make that representation as a condition to the board?
Yes, we can.
I have no other questions.
Clarification, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Clarification question. When you say that you have coarse pavement at other sites, is the parking layout and the storage of vehicle parking where there's 8 to, what's the longest row, Jay? Of the stacked cars? 5? Okay, 5, yeah. Do they have the same intensity of stacked cars at your other location?
Not to that level. The other locations are stacked 2 to 3.
Any other questions? Okay. Next witness is Mr. Kelly-Osa.
Khalil Such was also sworn in on February 6th, and you remain under oath.
Yes,
For the record, we're not asking if there are any questions from the public because we already ascertained there's no public here. The only people here are with the landlord. So if you guys want to ask any questions, you got to like raise your hands or something like that, so we know.
Okay, Kelly, you testified at the last meeting. You did not finish your testimony. We also revised the drawings that are currently before the board. So does the board have any preference as to whether you'd like him to finish his testimony, go through what the revisions are? Does it matter to you?
Well, if he can finish his testimony,
That's my thought.
yeah, and then do the revisions, because assuming that the finishing of the testimony will then not be revised.
Yes, correct. So whatever you haven't testified to, show based on the revisions, and then we can go back to the prior testimony.
okay. So at the last hearing, I started off with the existing conditions, went through the conditions at the property, the topography, the site constraints on the property, the 2 properties. Talked about the 2 streams in the state regulated areas on the property, the existing slopes on the property, and then eventually got into the proposed site conditions. And namely that we have the 2 proposed car dealerships. We went into the size of the structures, the floor area of the structures. And I think where I kind of left off was getting into the site access and the circulation of the site. So the site is accessed or proposed to be accessed off of State Highway Route 202. And it's going to have a common drive access with lot 31.01. And I think I did kind of testify to this at the last hearing, but that driveway will also serve any future development on lot 31.01. And that was part of an agreement of the original subdivision of these 2 properties. So the main access drive or shared access drive will be a 30-foot wide drive. It'll be curbed and it'll meet the township standards. There is a proposed culvert that is being proposed at the existing stream in the front or the northern portion of the property. That box culvert has been reviewed and approved by DEP under both the flood hazard rules and the freshwater wetland rules. And is still a valid permit. And then as we come into the site, there's 2 driveway openings, as I'll call them, accessing lot 31. Both of those driveway openings are 25-foot wide. One on the northern portion and one on the southern portion of the property. As you access through the southern portion of the site, there's a 2-way access drive that circulates to the east and then eventually to the north and then back to the west. And then you could exit back out to that secondary access point along the main access drive that I was talking about on 202. As far as the parking on the site, the ordinance has 3 criteria for dealerships on how they come up with the required number of parking. The first is the number of employees. The second is the size of the showroom. and the third is the amount of service bays being proposed. Based on those three different criteria, the ordinance requirement for parking on the site is 294. What the applicant is proposing is 297 parking stalls that would be dedicated to satisfy the parking requirement. In addition to that, there's 187 stalls that are being proposed as vehicle storage / vehicle display for the dealership use. So on sheet 8A that I'm referencing on the filed plans, we have the green stalls as the quote unquote parking stalls, and the pink stalls would be the vehicle storage or overflow parking stalls. And
Can I say something? Because what you're trying to say is that the stuff on your chart is required storage under the ordinance?
there isn't, as far as I understand the ordinance, there is no required amount of overflow or vehicle storage number. It's just the parking requirement based on the use and number of employees.
Okay, because if you add up all those numbers on that chart, do you come to 484?
Yes.
So you're saying on the chart,
Sheet 8A is probably a better sheet if, I don't know what you're looking at.
now I see you're talking about the green and red.
Yes.
Okay, so I understand total number of vehicle storage display spaces, 100%, right?
Correct.
So you have a total number of parking spaces required, 294, and then another total number of parking spaces required, 297.
No, that's what is being provided.
Oh, provided. Got it.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to get lost in the weeds there.
No, I got lost in the weeds. You knew what you were doing. I didn't.
All parking stalls would be curbed, and the islands would be curbed as well that are proposed. As part of this, and again, on sheet 8A, it illustrates it, I think, pretty well. We are proposing to stack parking stalls. So there's a double stack along the frontage, along the northern portion. And then there's a 5 stack on the bottom. And again, we've kind of dedicated the quote unquote display and storage vehicles within these stacked areas because the manufacturer and the owner and operator of the site will have the most control over those cars that are placed in those areas. So if there is concern about accessing and getting in and out of the stacked area, those dedicated areas can be utilized and maintained directly by the owner and the operator. All parking areas are greater than the 15-foot setback requirement per the ordinance. We do propose landscape islands, but we do not meet the requirement to have a landscaped island for every 8 stall. So we do need relief from that standard. The site also proposes one loading area. It's 130 by 20 feet wide. It's proposed in the rear of the Nissan building. The ordinance, based on the requirement, would require 5 loading areas. We think that's overkill, so we're just asking for relief from providing extra loading areas. The operations is, from our understanding, is more than enough with the 1 loading area. All right, so site signage, and I'm only going to be talking about the pylon signs. So there are two pylon signs proposed, one for the Toyota dealership and one for the Nissan dealership. They are both proposed along the northern portion of the property. And they kind of bookend on that same sheet 8A, that 50-row parking stall in the front on the, if you're looking at the plan, left and right of the plan.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
You might not know the answer. Why was it so easy for them to tell you exactly what was required for the pylons, but not for the building signage?
I don't know the answer to that,
Do
honestly.
you know the answer to that? Okay.
What exactly is a pylon sign?
A freestanding sign,
Yes.
ground mounted, up on a, they're no longer just poles, they're like fancy things now, but
Okay. I guess I am gonna.
that's why they call them pylon signs instead of pole mounted sign.
That way they can charge
Or
more.
concrete monument.
Yes, or a concrete monument sign.
Could you point out where they are? I see the one, but I don't really see the other one.
Yeah, so if you're looking on sheet 8A.
You, how about on the TV?
You want to go on the TV?
Yeah, the thing like gets blocked out.
Oh,
Other
okay.
end is each circle line.
There's one here, one.
Little rectangles on the end of each of the pink.
So the one on the right-hand side seems extreme.
It's smaller.
The one on the right-hand side looks larger than the one on the left.
That's the hot box. We'll get into that later on.
Okay.
So the general dimensions of the two signs, so for the Toyota sign, which if you're looking on that plan is on the left-hand side, it's 25 feet tall physically from the base of the sign to the top of the sign. And the sign and logo area is 8 feet by 5 feet or 40 square feet, and it's double-sided. But per the township ordinance, there's a definition that if these signs are mounted in a location that's more than 3 feet above the curb line, you got to measure it from the curb line to the top of the sign. So that sign is proposed at 45 feet per the ordinance, but again, physically from the base to the top, it's 25 feet.
Excuse me, what page are the details of the pylon sign?
29, 26, 29.
I think it's
I have little copies if you want.
So what, I'm sorry, what relief is needed for these signs? again?
the height, because while 25 feet is the allowable in the zone, and they are physically 25 feet from the base to the top, the ordinance has a provision that if where they're located is more than 3 feet above the curb line, you got to measure it from the curb line to the top of the sign. So where these are mounted is greater than 3 feet above the curb line, which effectively makes these signs 45 feet tall per the ordinance requirements.
But the total height of the actual sign is 20.
Correct.
You have to speak into this microphone or you'll be reprimanded.
The total height of the actual sign is 25, but he's correct that because there's a difference in grade of greater than 3 feet from the curb line, they have to account for the additional height. So 20 feet.
So it's an ordinance provision. So while the general height of the sign meets the 25-foot requirement by the ordinance, we are seeking we're saying that the height is 45 feet high based on the ordinance definition.
Hey, Jeff,
I'm not
Jeff, I have a
disagreeing.
question.
I'm going
Jeff,
based on the ordinance.
How could it
Jeff,
be?
I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Russell.
The reason for the ordinance is because of the visually how it would look, right? Because of the
Yeah.
grade and all
Right,
that. The thing I'm
Yeah.
confused about is the difference between 3 feet and what you're saying is should be 25 and it's 45. So what am I
Yeah, so-
missing visually?
No, well, the proposed elevation at where the sign is mounted is approximately, because at that location of 202 is losing grade going down to the intersection, so they cut in the road. And we have to fill on the front to make grade work, so the elevation from the road to where the sign is mounted, there is like a 12 to 15-foot grade difference depending on where
There you go. That's why there's a
measure.
difference of 20
Yes.
feet.
Correct.
And so I'm asking Jeff from a township point of view and because I can't visualize, because to me, that's a big, big difference. So again, it's about facade and about how it looks.
Yeah, unless there's a site drawing or a sight line drawing or exhibits showing it, we would have to, yeah, we'd have to see it.
The answer is, if you want to see it, ask him to do a sightline drawing. Otherwise, you're saying you can't visualize it. None of us can visualize it. I think the
Yeah.
only person in the room that can visualize it is Kelly. Or maybe he can't even visualize it. He's just doing the math.
I could visualize it, but I can't
Yeah.
make
'cause
you visualize it
it
without
does
putting it on
seem
paper.
the issue, and this type of a sightline drawing would also help with the questions we had around lighting and
Exactly.
lighting spillage. So I think it would be really important to see a couple different perspectives where these
Sightline drawing, not only with the pylon sign, but with the light fixture.
light fixtures, because that's where we haven't gotten any detail yet about that, but it's going to be something of concern. because
What
of
she's
spillage.
saying is, she understands that the lights are, pointing the light down, but if there's that much of an elevation difference, if you're driving along there,
You're
even if the
looking
lights are
at that.
pointing down, you might be like under them and you might be able to see them. That's what she's asking. If you would put a sightline drawing together to show both of those things, that would help the board visualize what exactly it is you're asking them to approve.
Can I get to the site lighting first, and if that's still a concern, then we can address it.
Because we did remember that was one of the
Yeah.
questions when we came back with our list. We did
Yeah.
want to address
Okay.
that for you. So we may not have covered all your concerns, but we definitely did look at it.
So explain to me, just as simply as possible, for the pylon signs, what relief do you need?
We need height, and we need relief for having more than one pylon sign on the property.
And the height relief, if 25 is required, we are asking relief for,
So 25 is the maximum,
yes.
and you're asking for 45, even though you're saying the sign itself is not 45.
Correct.
And that's what that sightline drawing will help explain.
Correct.
And what is provided on the plan, that's gonna be the square footage, there's not gonna be any ownership names or.
There's not gonna be any address or identification added onto the signage, okay.
That is as proposed. Continue, please.
Okay. I think,
Traffic signage?
yeah, there would be traffic signage proposed around the site with typical stop signs.
Okay, is that shown on the drawing?
It's shown on the site plan, so sheet 8 of the plan should illustrate all that.
It's called like wayfinding signage,
Correct.
traffic control and wayfinding.
Those signs would be in accordance with the MUTCD requirements and the township requirements.
That's traffic control.
Correct.
Do you have any wayfinding signage, like, arrows go, service here?
Not that we have proposed on the plan currently.
Okay, I assume that you're gonna want some. Put it this way, if you're gonna want some, when you put in the plans for the building
The
signage,
signs.
put in a plan for any of the wayfaring.
Yeah, 3 square feet is the maximum, so make sure that you keep that in
Okay.
mind.
Yep.
And there's no limit on number.
No. So the amount will be reviewed as part of the sign package, but the square footage will be 3 square feet.
Okay, so just so I understand, we'll get that information. If we come and get 10 approved at 3 square feet or less, and ultimately want to add 2 more, would that be an amended site plan application, or as long as it comported with the ordinance requirements, it could be added at that time?
Yeah, it could be added at that time. Yeah.
Might be better to ask for 12.
That's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. Okay, sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
That's all right. So site circulation from a pedestrian standpoint, there is a proposed sidewalk along the frontage along 202. That was a request of DOT, I believe. So there is an ADA crosswalk at the driveway opening at 202, and then a sidewalk from the edge of the property to the edge of the property proposed. Interior, the pedestrian access, there's ADA stalls along the frontages of the 2 dealerships. And then there's barrier-free access through sidewalks and ADA ramps into the structures. The remaining parking areas have pedestrian access, just crossing through and walking into the building through the drive aisles.
Just before we get too far away from the parking,
I don't think that mic's on.
before we get too far away from the parking, I just, how are we gonna designate the storage of the vehicles and then the customer parking? Because I have some concerns about, let's say like the frontage along 202. If there's a vacancy in one of the stalls along 202 where a car would normally be stored, and then somebody by happen chance parks their vehicle there and then they leave, maybe they left it there and have to come pick it up later, then they're blocked in. So was there any consideration yet about how that would be identified?
Not off the top of my head, but we could put like markings or signs.
Yes, I
on
mean,
those
I think just
locations.
some kind of striping or
Yeah.
something would need to be added.
I think we could work with your office on that if that's.
If you guys want that, that's gonna have, you're gonna have to put that somewhere in writing, so if they approve it, I pick it up. Or that's gonna,
Make it a condition.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, we're going back and dealing with an additional plan that we're gonna have to present, so we'll incorporate that on there.
that'd be the best way to do it.
That's exactly, that's what I'm trying to. Now, unless anybody has a preference as to how, we'll pick what works, whether it's a freestanding sign or whether it's pavement marking or whatever, we'll pick.
Or incorporate it within the landscape island in the area.
I know. Listen, I'm just, we hear you loud and clear. There are requirements, like we've said from day one, there are requirements on our end. We're trying to, if there are things that you want to make as conditions to get us to that point, then that's well within your purview to do. But, you know, we have to make certain presentations and proposals.
Steep slope impacts. So the proposed development, as I alluded to in the existing conditions, there are steep slopes on the property under the ordinance regulations. The proposed development will be impacting these steep slopes. So the slope regulations, just to kind of make it clear, from 0 to 12% slope, the hard surface allowed is whatever is permitted in the zone. So in this particular zone, it's 55%. From 13 to 19%, it's 50% of the hard surface allowed in the zone. So it's
I'm
20.
not understanding. I understand. 0 to 12% slope. Generally, what percentage can you disturb? What you're saying is the township ordinance is not what percentage you can disturb, it's what percentage you can add pervious coverage to?
Hard surface, yeah.
You take a deduction. It's
Can you
on.
show me the ordinance, please, or show me, get a chart on one of these pages on the plan?
Yeah, he has a chart on,
Chart somewhere.
It's on sheet 5 and 6 of the plans.
I might be thick tonight, so
That's all right.
could be my brain.
It's Thursday night. It's hot. It's hot. It's today.
That's also page 26 of Jessica's report.
Listen, I need someone to explain this to me. I don't care who explains it. I don't care if it's Jeff or anyone else.
Should we take
The
a
way I
break?
have it is
55% hard surface is allowed in areas that are marked at 0 to 12%.
55% of hard surface. What does that,
55% of slopes, 0 to 12% is allowed to be.
I think if you look at
Oh, hard
Jessica's page 26, her chart, it may help. Jessica's report.
Jessica's report? Hold on, page 26.
Maximum allowable surface.
Okay,
Does that help?
okay. So it's how much hard surface is allowed in a slope area between 0 and 12%.
Correct, exactly.
Okay, and okay, it's the total area of regulated slopes within each of these areas. It's 55% of that for
Yes.
0 to 12, 27.5%, 13 to 19. Okay, thank you. I get it. Jessica, thank you for your chart. And Chair, thank you for pointing it out. Page 26.
And Kelly also has the chart.
But, yeah, okay, but his is not in,
That's all right. I don't care.
John.
his is not in color and doesn't explain it as well as this chart does.
Well, you'll be really happy because I'm going to read every single number right now. All right, so on lot 31, there's 464,360 square feet of 0 to 12% slopes. What we're proposing is 51.54% of hard surface over that area. So for that specific area, we comply.
And it's how much? That 51.54% is how much?
Is 238,865 square feet. For the next level, which is 13 to 19%, there's 18,876 square feet that exist on lot 31. We're allowed to have up to 50% of what the allowable hard surface in the zone is. So it's 50 times 55% is 27.5%. We're proposing 59.93% of hard surface in that specific range. So there is relief required. That number of 59.93% equivalent is 11,313 square feet. And then greater than 20% and greater is there's no hard surface permitted. There is 12.08% of hard surface proposed, which is on this is 3,881 square feet. Again, for lot 31. And then additionally from that, the overall hard surface number in the zone or on the property gets adjusted on a weighted limit based on the ordinance. And what that entails is on this particular property, the allowable hard surface goes from 55% to 50.49%. And the proposed overall hard surface on the property is 49.29%. So we comply with that portion of the hard surface. On lot 31.01.
Okay, now on lot 31.01, right now, the only thing proposed on that lot is what?
Is the culvert, the driveway, and then some utilities
And
coming.
then a hot box.
And a hot box.
Okay.
So on that particular lot, there is 487,086 or 86 square feet of 0 to 12% slopes. As part of the minimal improvements that we're proposing on 31.01, only 2.6% of hard surface is proposed within that slope range, or 12,827 square feet. 13 to 19%, there is 62,627 square feet. We're proposing 5% of hard surface in that area, which complies with the 27.5 for that range. That number's 3,158 square feet. And then from 20% and greater, again, no hard surface is permitted. 5% hard surface is proposed in that range, which is 351 square feet.
I
Again,
don't want to assume anything, but I assume that most of the disturbance, even though it's, you don't need a variance other than for that 20% or greater, that must be somehow connected with the access road?
it's all associated with the access road, putting in the culvert and crossing that regulated ditch.
Okay.
So again, the overall allowable hard surface for lot 31.01 gets adjusted from 55% to 51.22%. And the overall proposed hard surface on the lot for those minimal improvements that we're talking about is 3.02%, which complies. All right, so utilities, kind of naturally with John, what you were just asking about with the hot box.
Yeah.
So the applicant is proposing a hot box for lot 31 and a separate hot box for lot 31.01. And that's at the direction of New Jersey American, who is the water provider. They wanted two separate structures for the two potential developments to run on their own. As part of this project, we're proposing the hot box on lot 31.01 at this time because they'd need to install the utilities with the driveway at the same time that the driveway is getting installed, so that when that future development, if there is ever one, gets constructed, they're not ripping up the road to install a new water line and hot box. Sanitary sewer, lot 31 has 42 EDUs from the RTMUA, which is more than enough for the proposed development. RTMUA has reviewed and they issued like a will serve in that regard. The remaining proposed utilities are gas, electric, and cable. Those services are also proposed to go up that main access drive across the culvert. And then they would tie in on lot 31 at the first driveway opening into the property.
Just curious. Does lot 31.01 have any sewer capacity on it?
You know,
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I know at one point in time it did, but I don't know if they still do or do not.
You know,
so do you.
I understand, but the record has to, it's got, what does the record should reflect
Well,
what?
we could go into it. I would just say that it's irrelevant to this particular application because there's no development requiring sewer capacity that's proposed in connection with this application on lot 3101.
That is true.
Why would you have a number
That
now?
is true. I'm gonna check it.
So that could change.
I just gotta check the,
So that could change.
hmm?
That could
No,
change
I
depending on
understand.
whatever
No.
the future development is, so.
Right, but the only things that they're seeking to have approved are a shared access drive
Mhm.
to be used right now, at least for lot 31,
Which is court order.
culvert, and a hot box. So when you read those cases, those published appellate division cases that say the board can't grant preliminary site plan approval unless they have the four essential elements of a development, one of which is sewer, it's all in terms of you don't want something approved for occupancy when there's no utilities. And I guess the point is that there's nothing proposed on that lot that could be occupied.
Okay.
Okay.
The two hot boxes. So on lot 31.01, the hot box is proposed at 20 feet from the front yard property line. And lot 31, it's 23 feet from the front yard. So both require relief from the ordinance for their locations. And again, these hot box locations were provided or recommended by New Jersey American. Site grading, when I went into the original existing conditions of the property, I explained the topography. There's a high point in the middle of the property, and the property breaks to the north and to the south, two distinct flow points. The proposed grading kind of mimics that pattern. There's a high point in the center of the property where the two dealerships are proposed. And then there's a portion of the property that runs towards the north and loses grade as it goes towards Route 202 and has an ultimate discharge point or low point at that culvert area along the northwestern portion of the property. In the rear portion of the property or the southern portion of the property, the grading is designed again to mimic the existing drainage patterns and all runs to the south to that regulated ditch along the southern property line. On the edges of the development, to try to limit as much disturbance as possible, we're proposing the slopes at 3:1 to tie back into existing grade as quick as possible and try to limit the amount of tree clearing where it's possible to limit the tree clearing on the property. And in doing that, the proposed property is a net fill based on the design. And any fill being brought into the property would be brought in accordance with state and local requirements and be organized in that manner.
Have you provided that calculation?
I believe a number was provided, a report was provided at one point in time.
You know what it is?
Yeah, what it is. And how,
Yeah, so approximately, we're looking at 16,500 cubic yards of fill.
and in layman's terms, how many
trucks?
how many what yard dump trucks does that mean are going to be brought into the site?
A lot.
Like that
In layman's term, it's a lot.
Yeah, a typical triaxle has about 20 cubic yards is what it can hold, and that's on the very upper end of what it can hold. That quick math is 825 trucks that have to be hauled in site.
825 trucks.
Yep.
Bringing fill in. How do we manage
Well, you could ask for
a traffic management plan?
Yeah,
dust control plan,
a truck fill plan. Other of my boards have
Yeah,
asked for that.
so typically, for sites that we deal with when there's a lot of fill, one of the biggest things the first thing that we ask for as a part of the construction process is a certified clean fill or clean fill certification. We need to know where the material is coming from. There needs to be an environmental report showing that there's no contamination, no trash, no debris.
And that's a requirement, right? Those are the state and local requirements.
Yes, correct. And then as a part of that, we also need to have delivery tickets to show, again, where it's coming from, when it left the site, when it arrived on site. So that's just part of the typical process that we would have for projects of this nature.
And then how do you manage traffic and dust control and?
We could, I mean, it's
I'm gonna
not
turn that back
typical
over.
to have a pre-construction meeting to evaluate and come up with, we could have.
Put it this way.
Go ahead.
If the board wants, the board can ask for a truck and fill plan that will show where they're going to have the dirt mats, what they're going to do for dust control, the route that the trucks are going to take. You can, if that's the concern, you can impose that as a condition. And I know that your office has done that because you've done it in Montgomery Township, where I'm the Board of Adjustment attorney, and they had a site that had Yeah, 1,000,000 cubic yards of fill.
There's a lot.
Really?
So we're much less than that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, and just so clear again for the next one, that would be something we would impose. if-
No, that's a plan that they'd want to see and approve before they approve the, the application.
As a
That's not a condition that they're gonna
No, I didn't say
delegate to the
conditions, so I
engineer.
just want to make sure, I thought they wanted a plan and then so I just wanted to make sure we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
I would think it's something.
Why don't you poll everyone if they want to see a plan like that?
See and evaluate.
And I want to know exactly what you want on it. So you said route, you said,
Our engineer will provide the standards for what they did in Montgomery.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can, I didn't personally work on it, but I can provide it, but typically it would be the route showing that where the impact is actually going to be, trying to keep that to state highway, so that way it's not impacting local roads. And then there'll be general notes about soil erosion and making sure that dust control and tire tracking pads. Maybe
Right.
at this case, because there's so much fill, maybe it's a tire washing station instead of just having a riprap pad that hopefully stays in good shape.
Right, you're
So-
gonna have a street cleaning machine on site because inevitably something's gonna spill off the truck, stuff like that.
there's nothing like location of where the fill is coming from.
No,
Not as a
Again,
part of,
just
yeah.
making
that
sure.
would, yeah, not as a part of this.
yeah, because you're not gonna know. He's gonna,
Correct, that's what I was.
yeah, that's why you want the certified,
Where it's coming in.
Correct.
right, that's why you,
Time construction, pre-construction meetings.
So that's when
Right.
all that, the certification and.
right, the certification and delivery tickets, right.
Does that include like traffic management if you need police or whatever to direct everything?
Yeah,
Keeping
I
in
mean,
mind
so-
the circle is right there.
Yeah, I mean, if there may have to be some type of coordination with state police because you'll be accessing, I don't know if maybe you'll need some kind of access permit with them, just based on the number of trucks, but
That would be a later.
that's typically done during the pre-construction meeting because we'll reach out to everybody that we don't want to make it too convoluted.
Right.
That's where it'll be interesting to see if the traffic study that's now being hopefully updated to include the other development in the area. That wasn't in the background counts, that these 800 trucks, that's a lot of trucks. Because what time period will all the fill be brought in on the site approximately?
When it's under construction.
A little bit clearer.
Well, it's gonna be.
A lot.
Yeah, it's the site work. So I mean,
Yeah, how
just
long
ch-
do you anticipate site work taking place?
it's gonna take a few months to get up to grade. It's gonna take time. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Right, she wants to know, how long do you think? She wants you to ballpark it. This is one of the few times she wants you to guess, but an educated guess if you could.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think over.
In other words, listen, if you have,
Is it 1 month,
Listen,
3
listen.
months, or 6
if you
months?
have
I think you're closer to
825
6.
trucks coming.
6?
Right, listen, 825 trucks. You figure how many trucks can you handle in a day? Because they have to come in, they have to dump, and then they have to be, the earth has to be rolled. It's got to be compressed. So he can ask them to do a calculation. They can do a calculation for what's the maximum number of 20 cubic yard dump trucks they can handle in a day. And then you multiply that by how many days, and that's just how many days of the fill operation.
Yeah.
That's not all the site work. That's just the fill operation.
Yeah.
You can put that in a note on the plan you're putting together.
Brian, I want to go back to something you said.
Sure.
Where the fill is coming from. You said tickets.
Yes. So
Delivery tickets.
delivery tickets.
Okay, a delivery ticket is one thing, but
Yeah, explain.
where's it coming from? Where,
So the back, as part of this application, I wouldn't get into, because they don't know where it's coming from yet. They're gonna have to go and source where.
right, but when you do the ticket
Certified
system, would
retail.
it say where it's coming?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that would be something that we ask for as a part of, if you're bringing
Okay.
fill in, we need to have
Yeah,
certification.
just so you know, what they're gonna do is, they're gonna put out feelers and see what sites in the state, this is a net fill site. So they're gonna look for a site that's a net export
Yeah,
site.
yeah.
And then they're gonna have to hire people to test the soil before it leaves that other site. And if you wanted, you could put a condition that it has to be, some independent tester before it's put here. Listen, the only reason I know about this, because I represent the Berners Township Planning Board, and they phased out the Berners Quarry, and they were bringing in fill, and it wasn't done the right way.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to the worst case scenario, just because
Big
somebody fills out,
contamination problem.
just because somebody fills out a ticket And can we, is that like a certification and then we get all the tickets and then we can see the log? Is that what that
That's, yeah,
process
so
is?
it's another terminology would be like a bill of lading or.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so we'll
okay.
have, someone signs off when it leaves, someone initials it when it gets delivered, and there's a paper trail.
Okay.
We get copies of
I
everything.
just want to make sure the
township
person doing the
dispatches.
signing is a real person.
Minor
No
detail, yeah.
promises the way everything's going lately.
Mm.
And there's a certification process of being filled as well, in addition to. the-
Okay. What, James?
So you know it's not coming from Chernobyl.
That would cost a lot to fly it from there.
3 Mile Island, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
a landfill. Or someone who's got a contamination problem and they have to dig it out like at a gas station.
Okay, so just the route, trying to focus the most on state highways, soil erosion, dust control measures, tire wash station, street cleaning machine, those items, anything else?
Talk to the board engineering expert.
Yeah, I'll follow up with
I
the
just want to
person
make
in
sure
our
nobody
office.
else had
Actually,
anything
yeah.
specific.
All right, stormwater management and drainage. So the proposed development will result in a major stormwater development per the local and state ordinances and requirements. So we are proposing a pretty robust stormwater plan here. The state recently required all major stormwater developments to include green infrastructure designs or devices into their designs. And these devices have to adequately detain, treat, and recharge stormwater in accordance with the various criteria within the rules. So what we're proposing on this site is porous pavement areas throughout the parking and car storage areas to manage the stormwater accordingly. And porous pavement is an approved green infrastructure device within the state's BMP manual. All the stormwater systems or porous pavement systems are under drained. The existing soil on the site and the testing that we did previously mapped as what's known as D soils. So there's very low permeability in the existing condition. So once the water percolates through the porous pavement system, it sits in a clean stone pit for a little while and then eventually is discharged out of the system at a controlled rate, like a normal detention basin would. There's two distinct locations that we're proposing the main discharges of the stormwater on this particular project. And they mimic the low points on the project that I previously alluded to. So the first is in the northwest corner near that culvert and that existing ditch. There's a discharge location. And then there's a separate discharge location along the southeastern portion of the property, all the way to the east of the development.
Before I go on real quick,
Yep.
Back to the porous pavement issue that, since that came up again, one of the things that I'm thinking might be helpful to your question regarding stacking is some notation on the plan indicating the amount of weight, if any, limit that porous pavement can hold. Is that something you're interested in seeing? Does that make sense to you, or is that no longer a concern?
My perspective, it was more of the logistics of moving vehicles. You're getting 187 vehicles beyond what's needed for your site that need to be moved. How often do you have to clean the porous pavement to vacuum it?
I'll get into it. I have it,
Okay,
I have
all
it
right.
listed here.
So I just want to make sure
I
what
don't
your
wanna give the
concern
wrong-
was. So it's not so much that, it's the number of, okay, that's fine. We have a whole separate section on that.
Okay.
I have a question related to stormwater.
Go ahead.
And I don't know if it's our expert or you can answer. I'm just, again, thinking more logically here that this site has a lot of grading issues, right? That's all over, as well as the fill, which is gonna get done versus the hard surface. So how does all that play and what type of stormwater system would accommodate all those variables because this is a complex site.
Correct. So the other allowable BMPs that are green infrastructure devices are infiltration basins, which are not going to work on this property because the soils don't allow for infiltration. There's bioretention basins, and those are done at the surface. So to propose one of those, we would end up disturbing and grading even more land on the property to fit it. And the only area left that we could encumber is one of the wooded areas, so we decided not to do that. We're already proposing all this hard surface. We might as well use the hard surface as the storage device and the control device for the stormwater.
Any comments from our expert, township expert?
Yeah, I mean, it's a state approved method. So as the requirements come in place, I mean, this is becoming much more common now with porous pavement. And I know the biggest concern typically with these applications is maintenance. But as a part of every new application, there's an O&M or an operations and maintenance manual that gets submitted as a part of the package. And then a deed is placed on the property requiring the current owner and then all future owners that they have to maintain the stormwater system. And it gives the township the ability, but not, they don't have to, but it gives the township the ability to go in and fix that should anybody ever not take care of it. And generally, I don't believe that's what's going to happen with this. But another thing too is that with the new requirements, inspection reports and maintenance reports are supposed to be submitted to the township, I think on a yearly basis. It doesn't happen a lot, but again, now that the requirements are more in place and DEP is kind of cracking down more on what's out there now, that is something, and that is something part of, I'm sure, of your O&M manual that says when the reports are supposed to be submitted to the township as well.
Thank you.
Just a clarification, it's not what I see on the plan. So porous pavement is being used, but I believe it's not being used in the drive aisles, just in the parking spots.
That's correct. And that's a suggestion by the BMP manual because of the heavy traffic and turning movements. They don't recommend you put porous pavement within the drive aisles.
Okay.
Because out of concern, it would fail
Over the course of
over
time.
time.
Correct.
You get into the, like, I'm sure if on the highways you see like chip and seal or slurry sealing. When you do it on roads that have a lot of traffic where there's a lot of turning movements, that's where it starts to push the asphalt out of the way. So typically it goes into the parking stalls where it is a lot of straight movement at the vehicle sit for an extended period of time, and it's not a lot of traffic over and over and over hitting it. So that is.
And it's not a lot of turning.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of turning in the spaces.
Just wanted to clarify the record, because I thought I heard you using porous pavement on the property,
Yeah,
but
we are.
just in the parking space.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, and that kind of circles around to the question, what kind are you doing? Concrete? Are you doing asphalt? What kind of porous or
Yeah,
pervious?
proposed is asphalt, porous asphalt.
And that circles me back to our engineer is for the amount of vehicle and amount and type of vehicles that are using this site. Is that the one that's going to be most suitable, not break down, be easier to maintain, or is something else better?
No, I think the porous pavement is a sound choice for the intended use. I mean, it's, yeah, the asphalt, yeah. Correct. Yeah, I think porous asphalt. I mean, it's a state approved method. The concrete has a higher compressive strength, but I think the asphalt economically is better for the applicant, I'm sure. It's harder to see the difference between the asphalt and the concrete. If you were to go and do concrete, then the site starts to look a little bit piecemeal. But no, I think the porous asphalt, there's no concerns at all with the strength and long-term longevity of it.
Good. All right. Ryan did a really good job of hitting my next points here, but there is a maintenance manual that was prepared as part of this application and is required as part of any major stormwater project that will be recorded with the property in the deed. So if there is ever a transfer or sale, if anything changes, it's part of the property. It gets transferred with the property as well as all the maintenance and requirements with those devices. And some of the general maintenance requirements, because I think Ms. Drews had a concern over it. These are straight out of the BMP manual under the porous pavement section. So the surface course of the porous pavement system must be inspected after every storm event that exceeds 1 inch of rainfall. If there's any noticed issues, they have to, like if mud or something gets in there, it needs to be remedied immediately. The surface course, again, of the pavement must be inspected at least once annually for any cracking, subsidence, spalling, erosion, or deterioration. So on a yearly basis, they got to double check to make sure the pavement is still holding. And then the surface course, again, of the pavement must be vacuumed, vacuum swept, not power swept, at least 4 times per year, so once a quarter. And again, that's just to get any sediment out of that surface to allow the water to seep through. And that is within that maintenance manual that will be filed, and it will go with the property. And as the owner, or the owner's rep, the applicant's rep, I should say, spoke to, they have experience with maintaining these systems on other properties. So they're confident that they'll be able to keep up with the maintenance of the porous pavement system. And as Ryan also noted, detailed logs of all the maintenance events are required to be maintained and then ultimately submitted to the town under the yearly MS5 permitting.
That's part of the manual as well.
Correct.
Um, Time. So we'd like to do a break for.
We'd like a
Can
bathroom.
I just have one more thing to put on the record?
Sure.
The stormwater management, along with other site improvements, were all reviewed under the DEP permits for the freshwater wetlands and the flood hazard area. And those permits have been issued. So they also reviewed the stormwater management system, and they found that it meets their requirements.
All right, take a 5-minute break. Calling the meeting back to order. We have 10 minutes.
We're going to 9:30.
No, 9 o'clock.
No.
We got 3 items for a closed session.
All right. I'll try to make my site lighting faster.
Go ahead, Cal.
All right.
Not too fast.
The site lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So the applicant's proposing 29 pole-mounted signs. They're proposed at 25 feet.
I'm sorry, say that again. Someone is talking. Sorry.
Start from the
Kelly,
beginning.
please start again.
Yep. There's 29 pole-mounted signs.
Thank you.
They are mounted or proposed to be mounted at 25 feet.
Mhm.
20 is allowable, so there's relief required with that. All of the pole-mounted signs are LED.
The pole mounted what?
Sign?
You're saying
Lights.
sign?
Well, yeah.
Lights. I'm sorry, lights.
Okay, I thought it was me.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. This time I'm the dense brain one.
I think we'll all get there pretty soon.
All the lights are LEDs. They're downward facing and they have shields on them. The lights are programmable and dimmable. And as you heard at the previous hearing, they would be dimmed down to, I believe the number was 20% that the owner's applicant or the applicant's rep noted in off hours. The lights along the northern property line or the northern property edge, which is closest to Route 202. They're all facing towards the development or away from Route 202. And the closest light to the physical road is more than 65 feet away from the road.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty far away from the road.
And I assume these are the same lights that they have at the other dealership right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I understand the concern of potentially seeing glaring driving down, but if you're driving down the road, you really have to look off to the right to see a light that's 65 feet off of the road.
Yeah, I know why.
I have a question. How about in the residential area behind the property?
Yeah, so the residential area, there is 0 light spillage. And I'll get into, or I can introduce the sightline diagram that they asked for from the neighboring properties. But there's a 100-foot wide vegetated area that's associated with that regulated ditch along the southern property line. Some of it is on the subject property and is within a conservation easement, so it can't be touched. And portions are on the neighboring property, but are under state regulated areas through the riparian zone and the flood hazard area rules, in addition to the local ordinances for the stream corridor, which, for lack of a better term, creates a 100-foot vegetated buffer. So, Razul, from your question, the poles mounted lights are at 25 feet, and that vegetation is going to obstruct any views from those residences to those poles. And the actual light spillage would be 0 at the property line.
Is there any evergreen trees in that conservation area? Because if it's deciduous trees, it's not gonna really.
There are existing evergreen trees in that area.
What percentage?
Yeah, do we have some kind of,
That I don't know.
do we have a picture? Do you have a Google or anything of that?
I could get one.
I guess I'm still having.
Microphone.
Thought I was talking.
I think it's not on.
Okay, I'm gonna try this. Does it, this one work?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
See the difference?
Yeah. I guess, wow. I'm really having a conceptual struggle dealing with the lighting. You know, now that we know the poles are even higher, and I'm driving down, even though they're 65 feet away, let's just put it this way, there's a lot of car dealerships where you get interference from the lights. So what, yeah, and why do you need 25 feet versus the 20 that's required by the ordinance?
So actually the row along the frontage is at 20 feet. All the other pole mounted lights on the property are 25.
Same question, why do you need 25 when 20 is required by the ordinance?
Well, I think if I'm
Wait,
understanding.
the other way around, I'm sorry, why are you asking for 25?
We're 20 is
Because-
the max.
Correct. 25 feet are on the other locations of.
Right, she's just
But
curious.
why?
It's,
Right.
yeah, it's to spread the light out on the property to get as much bang for your buck, for lack of a better term, as spreading the light in the parking.
You're saying if you use 20 footers instead of 25 footers, you would need more?
Correct.
We'll have more.
You're saying what's wrong with having more?
Yeah.
many more?
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to do the design
Okay.
to get the number.
Because you need some reason for an exception, then what would the reason for the exception be if you can lower them to 20 feet and just put in more? And the answer can't be financial.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Mike,
We'll look into that. We'll be prepared to come back with that. To your
And-
original question, though.
I would still like some perspectives from the road.
Compliant?
No, it's the spillage.
The spillage is, the
There is
spillage
no-
is 0.
Listen, let me interpret what she's saying.
I understand what you're
She
saying.
understands that if you look at the plan, it shows 0 spillage.
I'm
What she
looking
wants
up.
to know is, maybe if you do a sightline drawing, maybe the thing needs a shield on one side, not simply downward.
I think I testified to all the lights would have shields on them.
Okay, so if that's the case.
Okay.
Show her,
Do you have more
right, with a
information?
sight line and a shield, show her that from the road with the shield on the fixture, you will not be able to see, the light bulb, for a better term,
Yeah, the fixture.
underneath. That's what she wants to know.
Yeah, that's where my concern, because cars start stacking up multiple, probably 10 or 15 from that light back. So they'll be sitting right past the vet where
Oh, I
these
see.
lights are.
Yeah, that's what, I think they agree, they're gonna put some kind of sight line drawing in,
Okay.
showing, like, a lot of times you have the sight line drawing and you want to see how the landscaping is going to impact, what you see the top of the building. This sight
Mhm.
line drawing is gonna, they want to have landscaping in it, that's fine, but they have to make sure it's accurate, but this one's gonna show if you're at the driver's seat level, which I believe is 3 or 4 feet above the ground. Jay? And if you're looking up, even though the light's 65 feet away, at night, what will your eyes see? Will it see the bulb or will the shield block it? If the shield's blocking it, you're going to satisfy her.
I'd be more concerned of the driver looking 65 feet to the right, driving down the road.
No, but listen,
We're
the
gonna
driver's
do
not,
it.
listen,
We're gonna
the
do it.
driver's not going to look that way unless something's bright. If something's bright,
Okay.
they're going to say, what is that? She
Yeah.
wants to make sure that when they look over there, they're not going to see something bright.
Well, I'm just curious, what's the height now at the current location?
20.
20?
You're a lot closer to the road.
Yeah.
Just remember, the whole thing started with the pylon sign. Okay, the pylon sign,
Yeah.
which even though it's 25 feet, it's measured as 45 feet, but it's a change of elevation.
45.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just curious.
These are gonna up in the air.
Kelly,
So another concern aside from the drivers, right? And I think that's what Donna was saying. It just created this image in my head about lights and car dealership is, so you answer the question about the neighborhood behind. But in front of 202, everything is bare. So chances are you could see those lights way far from, because of the height, from 202. Forget about driving. Driving is important because of the safety issue, but there's also additional of what kind of visual impact it's going to have on the neighborhood with these lights.
Sorry, I don't know if I understood that.
Okay, so.
John, did you understand what I'm saying?
No,
so-
I did
So you
not.
know how all the car dealerships are down at one end?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and at night, there's a visual, because all those car dealerships are down
Thank you.
there, then you can see.
Yeah.
So with moving these car dealerships up to the residential area, what are you seeing from the mall across the street? What are you seeing? All the, are we creating another, are we extending the situation we have where all the car dealerships now? Are we extending it? Is it going to look that, I don't want to say industrial, but
No, I understand. So I guess then my question is,
Ambient light.
is the board looking for an ambient light study, even though we don't have any people here from residential areas that are concerned? I just want to know what you want, so I'm coming prepared.
I think if we get the sightline plan, will help us in the back. I think what you said and what I see on the plan, I'm kind of satisfied with what you have in the back, but I think the sightline will help a lot, the diagrams.
Didn't you bring a sightline
For the rear, I did.
That was my other
Yeah.
question. Is that sufficient, or do you?
Well, no one's seen it yet.
I haven't introduced it because I
Right.
haven't got to it.
Okay, but.
Yeah, well, like Cynthia said, I'm concerned, and thanks to Donna, that's where the thought came, was in front. And what
Can I
does
make
it
a
do
quick
to the
suggestion?
neighborhood?
We don't have much time. Can you just start by showing that sightline drawing to see if that satisfies the concerns in the back?
Yeah, because then
Okay.
if
Because if it
that
doesn't-
satisfies it, then we just need one for the front.
Right,
Correct.
and if it doesn't satisfy, you'll know what you have to do, but if you don't at least show that
I
right
just don't
now,
want to come back.
Yeah,
and
correct.
introduce that and then have to go back
Yeah.
and do another one.
and I don't want to either.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think the 25-foot light
Is this
pole,
going to be exhibit A4?
No, A4 is a replacement. You wanted the proposed conditions plan not showing the buildings on the next neighboring lot to be a replacement of A4.
So where is A4?
So it was part of the drawings.
No, it's
Or
part of an
something
exhibit.
different? Okay,
yeah.
sorry. This was just exactly
Listen.
what you wanted.
Listen, the last exhibit we entered into evidence in February was A3.
A4. Oh, it's A3.
Was A3,
It's A3.
okay? So which exhibit do you want marked as exhibit A4?
Okay, remove and make, I have remove and make this A4, but okay, so then so we don't have to, you say make this A4?
I don't care. All I know is the next exhibit's A4. Just tell me what it
Trying to
is.
think, we're all over the place.
We're looking at the site exhibit of the back. Let's just have this one.
Right, A4.
Okay.
Kelly, give us the title of that site, of the sightline exhibit from the back.
I have them
I have-
handing out. so you can have it.
So for the next time, all proposed site.
No, we're not.
conditions with the building on it.
That will be A5.
Thank you.
But we're only doing A4 tonight.
I just wanted to say that I think it's like there's two things going on. The 20-foot versus the 25-foot poles is sort of a character. It affects, like, this is an area that abuts a residential area. It's a design kind of issue having to do with the character of that part of our town. And then, of course, this other issue.
So what I have here is, we're going to look into what happens if we decrease the lighting from 25 to 20. How many additional poles would we need in order to achieve the lighting?
That's correct.
Foot candle requirements.
Yep.
And safety across the site.
Right.
And the sight line, providing that you're okay with what it looks like for the rear, providing one of those for the front.
That's correct. Now, so exhibit A4 is what? There's a plan view and a profile view, but what is this? A site? Is this a sightline exhibit or what?
Yeah, it's a representation of a sight line looking from the closest residential property from the house towards the development to the closest structure or building structure, which is the Toyota dealership.
Okay, so for purposes of our board secretary, A4 is going to be called the rear sightline exhibit.
You have another one?
I'll go with this.
No, here.
Ted,
Oh,
do
wait,
you
there it
have
is.
any concerns about their tree selection?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how they got it. If they did a tree survey back there
Okay.
for these, they look like evergreen trees. So that's one concern. And I know in that back area, in the island, in the back of their storage
Okay,
parking.
this
they're all
is not a
deciduous.
sightline exhibit. I'm looking, where's the sightline?
The sight line is on the bottom.
No, I'm looking. You have a guy or a person or a woman or whatever, and you have a purple thing coming out and it hits a tree and that's it.
And that's what we're saying. Your view is obstructed.
Did anyone go on?
You're supposed to do a dotted line all the way out to the building. You see where it stops, but you see if the tree's not there, if it's not accurate, if the tree dies, what you see.
Okay, well, we can revise it. We'll come in with another one.
And this sightline exhibit is done from the closest existing dwelling, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Which is how far away from the building?
It's approximately 450 feet away from the Toyota dealership building.
Yeah, if you put the guy at 0 + 0, 0, you'll see the front edge of that Toyota dealership is 4 + 50. You guys got to talk quieter in the back. We can hear you up here, believe it or not.
So again, if you could just do like a tree inventory, just so we know what the percentage of the evergreen, because I don't know if that's an accurate representation. If you didn't go out there, you can't, I mean, because again, if they're deciduous trees in the winter, you're basically going to see right through it.
Okay, so the comments on the exhibit A4 is, you got to redo it, bring it back. We'll have, the new one will be A5, and then whatever, Kara, that other one you were talking about, going to be A6. But you have to put the actual sight line in, and you have to do some kind of tree survey to show if this is based on reality or if this is just, fiction.
I mean, I was also gonna, would it be helpful to actually have, because this shows a diagram, but have an actual image of where you're standing?
Well, the concern with that is we don't have access onto the private property. It's somebody's property. I could stand in the cul-de-sac in the public right away, but I can't go onto that person's property.
And we've done that before.
Yeah.
With adjacent properties. I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And that was the concern there, because it wasn't an accurate depiction.
Yeah, you can knock on the door and ask. If they tell you no, do it from the cul-de-sac. If they say yes, do it from the back of their house.
Can you add one of the light poles into this?
That's what they did for the,
We
Yeah,
did,
billboard.
yeah.
Well, they would probably be interested too, because they're backing up, so
They'd be
they want to know.
interested too if they were here. No one's here. I'm gonna go knocking on doors now.
one door. You don't have to do it. Kelly's doing it.
Kelly, while you're doing this, could you please give us the distance from that house to the closest parking spot, please?
Yeah,
Probably
so
about 300 feet.
it's just shy of 300 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
And what is also shown or depicted in there, which is plus or minus at the 250 feet away from the house, is where the anticipated master plan road would be going through the property.
Okay.
Yeah, Board Secretary, do we have a digital of Exhibit A4 that they submitted?
Yes.
That one
Of this
that
today?
went
Yeah, it's
today?
right here.
Yeah, we have it, everything.
Oh, you get it right up there, never mind, okay.
You're getting dense again.
Yeah, so it's 9:10.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So I suggest that we continue the hearing without leaving further notice to what date?
We have May 1st available, but
That's a lot.
your
Have
three,
enough
your
time.
3 weeks would be next week.
Right, you have enough time to make.
And then if not, then you're looking at July.
If you're waiting for May too, you might have time to get the signage together.
Yeah, can I tell you, if you're gonna be in July, you better have the signage by then.
I mean, honestly, whatever signage they have is the signage that we will submit at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's-
I don't understand what that means.
Whatever signage they give us
give
Right.
it.
is the
I'm
signage
saying,
we'll submit.
correct, that I doubt they're gonna give you the signage in time for you to be May 1. But
Oh,
I'd
I'm
be
already not
shocked,
thinking. we're gonna do
I'd be shocked if they don't give you the signage. in
Oh,
time
you have
for
it?
July.
I would certainly.
What's the date in July?
Oh, it's right
I
there, you
mean,
have
we're
it.
pushing it. That's July 3rd.
Is that number 4?
And then if not, you're looking at July
Jeez.
17th.
Are we gonna have a quorum July 3rd?
Why don't we first start, find out if your people can make July 3rd before we have.
Well, we don't know if we want the third.
Right, so, okay, July 17th.
Yeah.
July 17th. So the hearing in this matter is going to be continued to July 17th without any further notice. And this should
Time
give you-
extension till September.
Right. And-
August 31st.
You're pushing it. You're
and
pushing
You
it.
want an extension to September 30th. Is that a yes?
Yes.
What's the next date? What date?
July 17th.
July 17th.
And Jim Kyle, if you look at your email, I saw you email that I told him September 30th. You were.
Hey, I mean, maybe if the food shop isn't going on, we can get June.
So
Okay.
we'll get the
Okay.
updated traffic report with the new developments.
Oh,
That-
yes, you most certainly will.
Okay, great, ahead of time.
It will be.
Okay, Cynthia, can I propose a motion that someone can say so moved? So moved. I make a motion. The motion I propose is to go into closed session to discuss 3 matters. So it's going to be technically 3 closed sessions. 3 closed session minutes. Each one will be separated, but we're going to do them one by one. One after the other. We're going to come back out and do 3 motions. The first motion to go into closed session, discuss personnel matters in terms of potentially hiring a hydrogeologist.
Okay.
The second closed session is going to be to discuss board procedures where the board attorney has to give attorney-client legal advice where confidentiality is required. You exercise my duty of the attorney. And the third closed session is to discuss pending litigation.
Thank you, Jay.
See
See you next week.
202
202.
Properties LLC.
And because all these will involve attorney-client privileged information, that the minutes will not be released. So, someone want to say so moved? Someone wanna-
Second. Need a roll call?
Well,
Roll, can you ask for a roll call vote for a second?
I think we just, wait a minute. We're still in the meeting. Chairwoman Ms. Cynthia Schaefer. Vice Chair Mr. Sultanji.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Block. Mr. Steve Farcio.
Yes.
Ms. Lorette Cartina.
Yes.
Mr. Jim Ferrero. Jim is to go into closed session.
What about James?
Well, I need 7, so James and Donna don't count.
So, are we gonna retire to the closed session room? What are we gonna do here?
I'll be out of here in 2 minutes.
Stop recording.